Good morning, everyone. It's Alex here doing another TerraFarmers devlog. This is devlog number 11. Oh, it's been a journey so far. In today's episode, we're going to be working on some more art and integrating some of that art into the game and just discussing some of the changes that we're going to be making. So, without further ado, let's roll into it. Adjust our music volume today so you guys can hear it a little bit better. Turn myself up just a little bit. All right. Let's switch over to our game and let's get started. All right. So when we left off yesterday, we didn't really do anything like I had planned in terms of update. There's a lot of distractions in terms of talking to the community, which is totally fine. Totally fine. I'm gonna try to keep this down to about two and a quarter hours, 2 hours today. So we're gonna just jump right into pixel arting. So after doing some more looking, I want to do some more UI elements. I'm not satisfied with the way that this looks. I think that it is a UI element, but it isn't exactly what I'm looking for. So let's do a little work here. That didn't show up like it was supposed to. Why did you not? Yeah, subscriber. Why did the subscriber message not work? Huh. That's alright. Hello, viewer. Okay. Back to what I was thinking. Alright. I'm going to rearrange my thought pattern here. Rearrange? Reorganize? Alright. I want to make something more oxygen related. So we're going to turn off our UI for now. And we're just going to work inside of our main tile set so I can sample those images and everything. Let's see here. Take some of those new colors that we got. I want to do 3 here, so this needs to be like this big. So that way we can do kind of a tube. I may even expand that a little bit. We'll see. This would have like a oxygen gauge. Something like this. We can round it. It needs to be a little bit bigger so I can round it out. Kind of round it like that. Come back in. Would have like a canister gauge. Maybe something like this. I feel like the neck needs to be longer if we do that. And then we could do like right? Go back in, fill this up. So now we have like the beginnings of like an oxygen tank. So we can go back in and say, okay, the inside of this thing needs to be really gray or glass. We have a glass color already in our game, so we'll sample the glass color. I kind of like it being more gray and empty. I think that's more attuned to... Whoa! It's too white. That's even our off-white. I want it to be pretty bright. We'll work towards it. We'll see. I think we need to go backwards a little bit and create that. Oops. Alright, now I can swap those, so now we have like something a little bit darker. And then we could take our darker edge. We need to re-outline this in black, just so it doesn't look so bad. So let's now go back through and add our black. It should be like this. Like this. We need a really bright edge right here. We're gonna change this up, okay. Just because it's a canister, right? We should have some sort of light edge. And then we should have a darker edge. Let's make a new one of these. Make it slightly darker. And then all we would need is like, say this could be white, the dial. Maybe add like a little tick for the gauge canister, and then do like a dark tick up top, so we can kind of see where our gas gauge is at. I'm not a huge fan of this yet. It's just an idea. Let's see. I don't know about you all, but I feel like the top of this thing is massive. This feels weird. Maybe there's a way that we can add black to soften it out a little bit. That looks a little bit better. I thought this would be interesting to then, like, take this concept, and then start rounding. Let's see here. Let's take this. Let's take a slightly darker thing. I need the inside to be a little bit brighter, so we can add those darker tones. There we go. We'll add like a cube down here. Let's expand the white here a little bit to add some glint. And then we'll just add some like basic glinting down the middle. Maybe we can play with this a little bit, see how that... We'll start with this first. Now that we're using Dale stuff, we'll make the middle here a little bit darker. Honestly, I feel like... I should do this in one. There we go. Kind of like that. this color, add a little bit of darkness there. We can lower this by 1. Okay, now we're starting to come together. And then we could do our oxygen in here. So let's say this is blue. Let's copy this. We can then turn this into a bar, a vertical bar. You know what I'm saying? So like as you have oxygen, maybe it fills up. We'd make this a little bit darker. And then we would take an even darker blue and wrap it kind of like this. Let's see. Maybe not. I think that blue is just too blue. Kind of hurts my eyes. I kind of feel like... Let's go backwards a second. I want to rework on some of the tubing. We need some shading here. That's a must. And I feel like down here when we added that some sort of like lower blur. Maybe we can add just a little bit more shading down here. Beyond just adding this. We can even say that it is there when there's no liquid. It'd be darker, you know? Let's adjust this real quick. I feel like our color is off here quite a bit. I want something dark, but not too dark. Even more gray. There we go. I think what I want to do, I think actually, is take all of this to another layer and then make that layer translucent. And now when we paint in a color like blue, okay, maybe it's too translucent, or not, yeah. Let's increase until we can get some more of our color back. Hey, Riley. Wait, that's our main tile set. What is going on here? Yeah, see, that makes way more sense, because then we can go back to our tank and add in, like, or go back to our tank. Let's hide this for a second. Let's turn this back to full. And then we can take this like that. Like this. Maybe do a small boost, like right there. There we go. And now we can drop this back down to like, we'll go 50. Oh. Wait. Oh no. Did I color that funny? No, it's white. Okay. So I'm thinking now in the game that you have an oxygen container. That's part of your UI. Let's see what that sprite looks like in game. As just as is, just as a placeholder, without anything else in it. I also need to go backwards a little bit and undelete that canister. Otherwise, we didn't really change anything here. Merged everything down. There we go. Alright. Let's take this sprite and import it into our game. File, export. It is not even. That's going to drive me nuts. Move it over one. Oh, it's uneven. No! Riley! Why? Alright, that's what we got now. Alright, so now we'll take it. All of it, copy, file, export, selected. This is an object. Object. No, this is UI. UI. Let's go into our browse. Object sprites. UI. Oxygen. Save that. Go into our game. Go to entity, UI, add an object, add a sprite, UI, oxygen. Add a sprite. No, I'm dumb. That's right. I'll remove the blue. There we go. Save that again. Apply. Now we're just going to move that onto the UI layer. That's tiny. We need to resize that. Okay, what's the... we're going to multiply it by 10. So 160 by 160. Or 160 by 480. Woo! It's huge! Alright, let's see that. Where'd it go? Oh, UI layer. There we go. Boom! Okay. Too big. Too big. Okay. That's much too big. We don't want that in our game. That's huge. So... try 6 times. 16 by 6 is 96. And, woo! That's way too big. 48 by... Nope. 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 By 6. 288. Oh my goodness. There we go. That's better. Still feels a little big. I think that would annoy me. Obviously not sure where we're going to put it yet in the game screen, but that's still too big. So I guess we'll do 16 by 4, which is 64, yeah. And then all right, now let's see. Giving it no padding anywhere. Okay. I think we found the size. But I think it'd be easier to see if it wasn't in the bottom corner. I have to look for this. I feel like it should be somewhere where I can see it. It would be interesting almost if, when you were using your oxygen, if it appeared next to the player. Let's see here. I do kind of like that idea. Because if we're playing multiplayer, right? The other players are also, when they leave, they're going to have oxygen. And I feel like something bright and blue would stand out. Hmm. Back down to its original size of 16 by 4. That's still too small. Nice. Very cool. Okay, that was right. What? Why does it look so... This is 32, that's why. Hmm. Would be helpful if I had my grid up. 64 by... Okay, what if we... First of all, that's gonna drive me nuts. I gotta get rid of these. Okay, save that. What if we go back into our here, hide this, copy this over. Let's do one out of red. Hmm. Those are still huge. I think we need to do it times 3. So, 48 by, I'm just going to use a calculator. 144. That's better. I think that's much better. It still looks barren up there by itself because there isn't really a whole lot going on with those dynamically right now, but that could be important. I'm going to leave that UI element up there for now. At the same time, I also feel like another interesting way of using this UI element in a creative sort of way is to copy. Let's say we don't have life in our game. I mean, we have hits, right? But we don't need to calculate that all the time. What if we built our inventory slots, the basic ones, the utility off of that? So every time we look at our inventory, we're going to see how much oxygen we have. You know, because if oxygen lowers, it's going to look like, you know, this is, we grab it like this. And up top, we'd add, actually, we'd probably do this first and then this. And then dynamically change what's in here. Emptying this out. Come back to normal tank, whatever that looks like. If that's the case, we'll pick this up and make it so that the middle of it is actually in a square that we could use for inventory. Let's bring back our UI layer. We haven't made... This is the closest thing I have to an actual UI button. Oh, we don't want that. We don't need this now. Right here. Oh my goodness. Copy this. Hide that. Paste it here. Move it over here. Thank you. Okay. Now, it's going to go through and just flesh out the box a little bit more. Not a huge fan of the boxes being like that. I kind of like them more rounded, actually. Damn, the log is huge. Takes up the whole inventory square when we put it there. Maybe there's a... Oh, well, these wouldn't be... Hold on. First of all, This needs to be twice as big as it is. This guy needs to be... big inventory. 2 squares. And so we're just going to copy this and move it up 1. That's the wrong spot. Copy from there and just move it up 1. Come on. Thank you. We'll remove this to sort of match. Because we don't want our inventory to be so tiny. You know what I'm saying? Makes our axe look small. But maybe we can double up our axe size too. Let's move our axe back to where it was. Turn back on our grid. Well, if we do that, though, we're going to run into the issue where... oh, that doesn't look too bad. Let's grab our wood now. I'm wondering if some items we do increase the size and then other ones we just don't. Like the wood is massive. Let's see what... Let's go backwards a second and see what our stones might look like. Honestly, I'm not... It doesn't offend me. All right, let's move this over and let's see what we can do here. I think it makes the most sense to stash everything kind of on... all right. We need to move this so that it's actually properly on a square. Okay, got it. How many of these do we want? I think I only want 4 inventory slots that the player can interact with regularly. I just cut this in half. What the heck? So you'll have like 4 hand slots in the game, and then you'll have your inventory. So for now, what we could do to test this drawing example, we're just going to copy all of this and do this a little bit quicker. There we go. File, export, selected. This is UI. We're going to do inventory oxygen combo, the Wombo combo. And we are going to duplicate our UI. Oh, UI tanks. Duplicate it. Call it UI inventory main. Delete these guys. Add a new animation. Inventory and sprite. Bring that into the game. Let's drag and drop that sucker right here. Now, because it is a UI element, see, do 96 by 286. There we are. Let's put that right in the middle of the screen. Let's see what happens. I feel like those are massive, right? Anybody else feel that those are massive? Designing UI elements for a game is tough. Because rather than this, right, I'm thinking down here, I feel like the oxygen is actually perfectly sized, whereas these are just too big. So I have a different idea. We're going to go back to the way we were. We're going to leave the oxygen container the size that it was, and bring back these. Because then what we can do, we're going to put them right in the middle, even split. And then when we resize this, these are 16 by 16 right now, but they won't be when I resize the canvas. So I think that this is a better play than what we were currently trying to do. So let's take this now. We're going to do 5. Do the same thing we just did. Export selected. Save it as the same thing. Overwrite it. Go back into our game. Make sure that's saved. Overwrite. Thank you. Go back into here. Add the sprite. Add the new one. Delete the old one. And there we go. Now, I'm going to use a custom size, 96. 96 times 3 is 288 by 48 times 3, 144. See, that's way more reasonable to me. I think that looks pretty good. And then what we can do is set these inventory squares, these individual squares that we're doing, and match their ID with the square. So whatever's in that square, also change the animation to this. And that way we could actually put stuff in it and treat them like inventory. And then we can always see what our oxygen level's at while we're running around. Let's turn that UI element off. Yeah, I think that looks better. So we're gonna come in here and remove these ones for now. We are actually going to go into our game events at the beginning of the scene. Set the UI inventory main to okay. Where is its center? Oh, probably. Actually, that's funny because I think the center of it is literally in the center. And now we need the Y position way down here. So we need to minus the size of this from the XYs plus buffer. So let's go into here and set the position to screen height divided by 4 because we want it at the very bottom. No, this will be the very top. Screen height minus the UI, inventory, main, height. Would you look at that? Now it's actually centered to the screen. Which is nuts, because the player is not truly center of the screen. I don't think so. It's a little bit high, so we're gonna then divide that by 2. Boom! Let's go! Let's see here. So now we have... Alright, so the makings of a new inventory. And I still want an inventory that we open, but I want to redesign that. But we're starting to get the UI elements into place that we're going to have in our game. So we'll leave that for now. Let's move on to some other art. That way we don't get sucked into one thing for the entirety of our stream. Let's see here. Alright, well, we need to make this empty as well, so we can actually turn this into a bar. So what we need to do now is undo this. Ah! What have we done? Take that and take that. Take this. Let's get rid of that. And we need the light blue now. Get a slightly different blue. Let's go up here and let's lighten it up. And now we have that. Oh my goodness, right there. And we could do it like that. There we go. And now at least we have some sort of... this should be like that. Actually, I didn't even notice that. There we are. Bring this up. That tube is huge. I'm trying to figure out how to limit that tube a little bit. Let's cut down on some of the UI a little bit. That looks a little bit better. So then what we can do... Let's do one more. Take this all the way down. Actually, we don't even need that. This needs to just be like this. Just gonna get rid of all that. Take this again. One. We do want that over. Okay. Let's drop this all the way down. All the way over. And we'll do this again. And we'll take that brighter color of white and make our empty bottle. So now we can we'll dynamically change these bottles depending on how much oxygen is in them. And so we can make bars. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a point that is 1 off of this on the edge, and we can spawn our inventory off of that. So right now, if we wanted to redo our entire inventory, it'd be super easy. We just, at least the beginning steps of our inventory, right? We can say, let's see here. Export selected, browse, inventory UI. Let's read right over that. We've got a new one. So we'll start by changing that visually in the game. Go back to our inventory square. I might have to redo all the items, but that's okay. So add new sprite, inventory UI. Oh no, it's tiny. Right. I know why. That's okay. That's okay, that's okay. We're going to times them by 3 this time. So when I go to export it, export selected, I can actually increase its pixel scale by 3. So it'll be 3 times its size on the UI now, rather than 2. And so we can go back into our game. Now watch this. Now when I add that sprite, it's huge. Look at that guy. So now, oops, let's get rid of this one, right? Our math is going to be messed up, which is fine. Yeah. No, stop. Stop what you're doing. Go back in here. There we go. See? But now when we pick stuff up, it shrinks. So we don't want that. We're going to fix that. Yeah, we're going to fix that. So, to do that, we are going to create a new section in our editor. We're going to take this guy out, move him down here on the bottom, and then we're going to start taking our items so that we know that we have a radish, right? We haven't changed the radish yet. I guess this would be a good time to implement the new radish. There we go. How do we want to do this? I think we can export this and times it by 2 rather than 3. So we'll go export, selected item, browse. We're going to make a new folder, items, UI items, UI items. There we go. And inside of that, we're going to make our new radish. And we're going to save it at a ×2. Rather than a ×3. So now, when we go into our engine, and we go into our inventory square, we can then, let's say radish is our first one. So let's delete the thing there, add a sprite, add the inventory UI sprite, then go into pixel. We only have 1 frame. And we're going to then import, that's export, import from an image the radish, and we're going to combine it in the middle in the existing frame. Boom! Radish! Yes. Yeah, Riley, I can do that. You have to divide it. Well, so it depends, Riley. So you have to take your resolution, right? What type of resolution do you want? Real quick, just Riley asked a question in chat. Riley wants to take... we're opening a new art piece here for a second. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. We'll do 200 by 200 for now. Paint this black. Take our pin out. So Riley wants a 4. What you're saying is 4:3, but that's the same thing as saying 4 by 3. So you want a 4 by 3. So that's that. Effectively. So if you wanted like a 1 by 1 in that math, you could divide it by 2, right? Take the full number that you have, which is, what is it? You have 1,536. If you divided that by 2, you would get a 1 by 1 square of how many, right? Mathematically, it's the same thing. But, give me a second here. Uh, right. As I said, it would be the basically it'd be the same thing I just did. So normally, to convert a resolution point, um, Riley, I think you have too many pixels. Uh, I got you. Uh, let's see. So, so you have total. So the math is total pixels. Let me. So total pix is equals your width times your height, right? We know that. Width times height is how we get the total number of pixels. So what we need to do is take. So we can then write this out as is 1536 is equal to width times height, right? And then we need to do a ratio. So we need to set this up into fractions where we have width and height. And then that equals 4 over 3. And solving this equation will give us the dimensions that we would need. And which width becomes 768 pixels. And height becomes 576 pixels. And that would make your... Wait, with the total pixel count... Yeah, in total pixel density, I'm converting your give me a second here, because what we can right now we have a width and a height in a plus format. We need to keep factoring that down farther. Give me a second. Let's see. Wait a minute. Let me move my head back. Oh, I need that. What the heck? Let's see, height. We're working on 16 pixel grids, so... okay, so basically, because you're working in... This would be a 3x2. Hold on. Because I'm trying to figure out math while I'm. Well, no, okay, so look, so like 48 times 32 is 1536. So is 96 by 16. And so is 192 times 8. Yeah, but that changes your resolution. Because 48 by 32 is 6. If you take 16, that's only height by width. So that's 4 by 2. Or 3 by 2. Uh, 48 by 36, I guess, would be the closest you would get. $1,400 pixels? Or 14,000 pixels? You need that now? Rather than 1536? What are you talking about? Riley, you're insane. I don't know what you're talking about anymore. I see. We're also going to then change this item. And we're going to go back to our sprites, objects. This is actually, this is in the growable section, which is insane. We're going to change that. So now, in our sprites, this is a, well, it is a growable, actually. This is the radish. Sprite, objects, items, item radish. We're going to replace that and do it at a 1 scale. Go back to our game and make sure, oop, cancel. No! All that work I just did. All right. Now we need to go back to the objects, no, collectibles, and change the UI for the radish. Add a sprite. Go back here, objects, items, radish. Okay. Delete the old one. And now our radish has the new skin. And when we pick it up, doop, 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 we have the appropriate radish in the appropriate location. And then we're going to move those to be generated down here. So right now these are temporary. We're going to generate our first menu down here. First, we're going to fix the other UI elements. So, going back into our game, let's go copy. Let's say we need the axe. Hello. Can I have my tool back, please? Thank you. We're going to leave that there for now. We're going to go down here. Just moving some things around. We don't need that. We're going to move that down here. I actually do want that to stay up there. We're just going to duplicate it. Same thing with the axe. I should probably not mess with this too much. Get our stones. Okay, there we go. For now, that's all we have to pick up, I believe. So we're going to export these. Export selected. Item. This one's a little different. This is a tool. Tool axe. Save. Oh, we want to... Hold on. We want to up this to the secondary scale. Objects. Sprites. We got to go back to your UI element. UI items. This is axe. Then we go over here to the wood. UI wood. Where was I taking those icons from before? I wonder. Objects? Tool? Let me delete that. We don't need that anymore. Sprites, objects, tools, UI, axe. Oh, this is wood. Wood. Save that. Go back here. Axe. Stone. Cool. And now we can go back into our game. Go back into our inventory square. And now we can redo all of this. So we'll just delete it. Add new sprite. Go back into our UI section and replace the inventory sprite. And very quickly, I'm just going to do this with everything so I don't have to redo it. All right, so now we got wood. Let's go in here. Now we go to sprite. Items. We need to actually go into pixel edit. My bad. And import. Doing wood, right? I think I'm doing wood. Ah! I didn't mean to do that. Damn it. Boom. Save that. Stone. Delete the secondary. Import. Browse. Stone. Next. Combine. Middle. Existing. Save. Alright, we're on a roll. It's coal. Delete the second one. Import. Browse. Coal. Combine. Middle. Existing. Save. Pixel. Delete. Import. Browse. Axe. Combine. Middle. Existing. Save. All right. Now we have the basics of our inventory squared away on these. But now we want to spawn them at a different point. Excellent. So now we're going to modify this. to then put those down here. So our inventory isn't in our face. And then we'll build a backpack inventory later. So in here, we're going to add edit point, and we're going to add a new point, and we're going to put it right where this guy would normally need to spawn, which is right there. And then we're going to remove these. So let's go back to our UI element. We just need this guy now. We need it full. So let's move this back over one. Let's reselect. Copy. Export. Item selected. We're going to do it 3 times. There it is. All right. Back to our game. Adding a new sprite. Adding this sprite. And we're going to delete this one. We're going to go to the points. And now we know that at 16:16... No, right there. 48 by 32. This is going to be the inventory spawn. So now what we can do from this location is close this, save this. Now we're going to go back into our inventory script. Okay. Mr. Guy, you are massive. There we go. Preview this real quick. Dead center. As it should be. This is technically screen center. So now we're going to generate those off of this, and then we'll move it over as we need to. So now we need to go back into our inventory manager. And where we spawn the inventory square is no longer going to be on the player's X position. It's going to be on the UI inventory main dot X or point X, and this is inventory. That's the square we told it, and this needs to be in quotes, right? And then we need to do the same thing, but for point Y. And now, our inventory should be spawning off that point. And now we have it a little bit in the wrong position, but we're getting closer. And the reason why is because we're doing a plus 48, which we don't need to do anymore, because our squares are 48. I believe. And now it should spawn. Oh, they all spawn on top of each other. Okay, so we just need to move the point. The spawn point, I guess. It is spawning where I want it to. Go backwards in here. Add back the plus 48, because that is for each one that's being made. Because they're not, it's not a set inventory. We're generating them over time because our inventory can grow. We're going to change this to 5 for for now. And then to fix this, we need to move. There's a couple ways of doing this. And the easiest for me, because I'm lazy, is to minus 48 from both of these. So this would be 0. And then what's 48, 8, 7, 6, 16? This should be negative 16. Boom! However, we have one too many squares. And I just need to fix this. There we go. Look at that. We have inventory. We now need to move... This is center screen. We need to move this guy over. So that the inventory is a bit more center. But now we've got a much higher quality, visually appealing inventory. We're going to minus one more on the x-axis for this guy. In this point. It needs to be minus 17. Because we don't want a space. Wait, why is that not working? Maybe there's 2 pixels of space there? Oh, that's the Y position. We need to move backwards on the inventory. On the X position. Oh, we need to do it one more time. So there's no... so that we actually have collision. There it is. And then we just need to move now the spawn point of that inventory to be more to the left. And because our inventory is going to grow, we're going to go back into our scene manager. This should be in the camera manager. So we're going to add it to this. So we want this. At the beginning of the scene, center this. And we want to do divided by 3 this time. Move it further over. Look at that. And honestly, I feel like the inventory should be center of this. Just so that there's not so much gap. So we're going to plus 16. So it's going to be 32 now, I believe. No, it needs to be, yeah, plus 16. I want to say that that is true. So it'll be 32. Wait, no, that I just sent it up higher. It needs to be 0. Yeah, we don't need that anymore. Get rid of that. Yep. This should just be 0. Boom. The numbers are bad. We should finally add a font maybe to our game. So that way we don't have to keep using these text slots that look awful. But now we have our inventory functioning properly. And it's drawn in a visual way we could hide it, I suppose. For now, this inventory won't be hideable later. So now, because we have the tool in our inventory, we should be able to check if we can hit the tree based on if we have the tool. And we should draw the tool in our hand if we're within range of hitting the tree. At least for axes. That's how I want axes to work. So, going into our plant manager, I want to say? No. No. Well, I guess here, actually. Yeah, node group. Yeah, so here, we already created this. If we have the proper unlock, do this to be true. So, particularly for the trees. Subtract the variable hits of node group, subtract by a value of hit. And right now it's 1. We can make it so that tools have hits or damage, right? So now we can go to tool. Where did I put my... Oh, collectible. In some cases, our collectibles may have damage. Gonna leave it empty for now. Its default is 0. So then we can say, like, if it is the axe, for example, we can now tell that its hits is 1. And so if we have the item and it does a certain amount of hits, do that amount of damage to whatever we're hitting. So going back into our plant manager, for each instance of node group, and in this case, let's change this now just to test, rather than node group to tree. So for each instance of tree spawner, if the player, for each instance of tree spawner, check the player instance. So in this case, we need to add, okay, hold on, lower that. Shift D. Bring that back. We need to check for each instance of node group. For each instance of player. For each player, hold on. No, we don't need to do it that way. We could do it here, actually, in that check. So this is where we add the check logic for that player. So it would actually just be here, add for each player. Oh, I just deleted that whole thing. So for each player, move our logic in here. If the player is within X amount of distance, draw it. That's will always happen. And then here we can say if the player we want to add that to this too, I believe. We need to move backwards here for a second. I've done goofed something on my plot manager. Where's it at? Let's go backwards. If the player variable number of children structures array So right now it won't highlight. And then if I have the axe, now it'll highlight. And now we can hit it. So now we cannot harvest trees unless if we don't. Woo! Oh, there's the axe. So now if I throw this down, boom, can't do anything. Now I have the axe. Get smoked, tree. Get smoked, tree. Yeah. Give me that. Give me all that wood. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go. We got gobs of wood. Anybody need wood? I got wood. How about you? You want this? Boom, full stack. Chop. Chop, 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 chop. Chop, 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 chop. Yeah. Now it'll highlight if I for each thing. So we have to now add the tools for each step of harvesting, right? Yeah. All right. So now we can say if Continue to explain, Riley. Okay, we now need to go to our player. And change a point. We need to add a new point called item slot. And this is going to be different for everyone. So the item slot we want to be here. Now we'll go to a different animation. Move the item slot to there. Move to a different animation. Item slot. Oops. Item slot, rather. Come on. This one. To your right hand. Down. Into... Because it doesn't really matter. I was doing it... Let's put it back in the right hand. Run. It won't show up while you're running. Just while you're standing still. No, if I do that, it'll break. So we need to do this for each one. We're going to the right. This is our right hand. Going to the left. This is our right hand. No, this is our right hand. Okay. So now, if we have the axe in our inventory and we're close enough, do this one time. We're going to create the axe collectible at player.point X item slot. This needs to be a lowercase. We're going to create that object, and we're going to set the animation of the collectible to the item's name. Do that once. And then perpetually pin that position. So now we need to if the animation of the collectible is X, we need to position its center position onto the center the collectible to the player. We could just do this again. Player X, player Y. And now, as we get close, and we have the axe in our inventory. Hello? What is this? What is this random item that I picked up? I'm not sure what this is. What is this? What is this abandoned item? What happened here? Huh. Anyways. Oh. Wait. Oh, I'm collecting more axes. Oh, no. We don't want to create a collectible. We don't want to create a collectible. We don't want to create a collectible. That's on me. That's on me. We didn't want to create the UI element. Which we don't have. We want to create a drag item. I know what to do. I know what to do. Hey, Bo Meets World. Thank you for stopping in, man. I appreciate that. And we're going to hide it. That's what we need to do. We need to hide the drag. Hide it. And then, when we get close enough, we then want to unhide it. So here, we can now say show the drag item. And then when we can't, hide it. So now, why is it not working? I'm mixing. We shouldn't be managing. Yeah, later, Bo. We shouldn't be managing our player inventory conditions inside of our freaking planting harvest. This should definitely be in our player's finite state machine. So we're not going to worry about that. We're going to pull it out for now. We're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of this and this. And that's important. So instead, every time we mention node group, we want to change it to tree spawner. Because so now we'll in here we'll add a new one, a new event group, and call this trees. Move trees, move that. So now without the right tool, it'll only target trees. And not other things. Won't even let you target things you can't do. And we can move some of the logic around. So now trees, to make this even better, we can say, we can move this up. Gonna move that one up. There, now the shaking is only done if we have an X. And now we can check if we don't have an X. So now we can paste this. Now we can say, we're just going to copy this whole thing. And we won't modify the trees any. So if the player does not have an X, we want to create, display, delete. Create, display, tween, and then delete text. Because now we want text to appear above the object. So if there is nothing in, and the player presses the harvest button, right here. So we're going to create a new section. Say, if the harvest key is pressed, And to do this once, for every time the harvest key is pressed, create a text slot above the tree. So this would be tree. Create an object at the tree spawner X, tree spawner Y. We're going to create a text object. Create text. We need to add a for each instance to here. So we can just grab this, drag this down. This one right here. And let's just move this for a second. We want to create a text slot. For each, if I don't continue to ask, for each instance of tree spawner in the instance that it's targeted and I press the action key, create a text slot. Link the two objects, link the text, so we don't create it again. Create a text slot and pin it to the tree. I guess actually we don't need to do that because we're gonna create this at the tree's XY. We're gonna change the Z order of the text slot. Okay, we're gonna go to text slot, Z order, change it to tree, Z order +1, so it's always on top of the tree. And then we want to change its text and then tween it. So now change the text. So slot text. Text. You lack the tool needed. As debugger text. And then we want to tween that up so that as it goes up, it fades. Or let's do wait 1 second. And then delete. We'll do all the fancy animations and stuff later, but for now... You lack the tool needed! Brrr, it's in my face! So now this is where we really need to start adding in font. I think it's time for some font. We need some game font. All right. That's interesting. No, this needs to be individual. So, okay, hold on here. There we go. I fixed it. All right. Cool. There we go. Fix that issue. That was pretty easy. Now I'd like to draw the item in the inventory, but that's a whole nother... It's a whole nother situation. Okay. We're now going to go back into our player. Inventory manager... Could be in our inventory manager. Tool unlocks. Add a new inventory group script and say player item drawing. So now, and honestly, this could kind of go into the... Okay, so at the beginning, we want to create a new... So like we have the drag item, we want to duplicate this and make it a tool. So we're going to duplicate this and move it in here. And we're going to call this tools. We're going to get rid of the radish. Or we can say holdable. Oh, I needed that one. Oh, well. No, I still have it. Okay. Delete the radish. Delete the wood. Delete the stone. Delete the coal. Leave it at axe. So, now, For each instance of player that has an axe in their inventory, in the player's initialization step, we need to add trigger once. How are we going to do this? Where do we want to do this? Is the question. Kind of like it in the inventory. So while we're creating the inventory, at the beginning of the scene, we can move this around later, but at the beginning of the scene, we want to create a holdable at the player point X, and that needs to be item slot, and then at the Y. At the beginning of the scene, do that. And this needs to be for each player. For each player, at the beginning of the scene, create that. For each player, after we create it, pin the... hold on. We want to link two objects. The player and the holdable. And we want to position the holdable position to player point X item slot. Constantly pin it. That needs to be here. Let's see. Aha! I have an axe that is not drawn in the right way. That's okay. Now we can go back up into our initialization. I'm gonna move this up here. Ah! I didn't want that. Undo. Alright. But then we can say, though, up here somewhere, which doesn't truly matter, we can just put it up here. We can set the holdable Z order to the player Z order. Oh, player, come on. Player Z order +1. Chop, 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 chop. Okay, so it's working, but we'll need to do some adjustments with how items are being held. Particularly, we can now move the origin point of the axe to a grip location. So now we can go back to our game scene, go back to our holdables, go back to our points, go to our axe, put the axe origin to the handle. And now, at least, it'll look like we're holding it. That's funny. That's an issue. In our player. I thought I did this wrong. When I'm running to the right. When I'm running to the left. Running to the right. Oh my good golly gosh. We're going to have to, for each run frame, I just remembered, we're going to have to move this thing. Let's see here. This is in the wrong hand. It should be in this hand. So at least now when I run right, take a look at this. Wow, it really doesn't... Why'd that not work? No! Did I not save it? Kill me now! Ah! Son of a biscuit eater. Here we go again. Would you politely go to where the heck I told you to go? Good thing there's not a whole lot of animations. Or this would... Okay, so now apply. Now when I run right, and I have it in my inventory... Yes! Whoa! Let's go! Yes. Yes! It's just a huge axe, though, let's be honest. Chop, 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 chop. I feel like that axe needs to be just, you know, a smidgen smaller, maybe. It would also be interesting if that it always rotated towards the mouse. The item in your hand. Alright. So now we gotta go in and do that for every single frame on every character spot. So go from 2, from 3, that's fine. Idle left. 0, 1, 2. This one goes down. That one goes down. We don't share these points, damn it. No. Wait, what? No. 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 Alright. Idle 1. What about right? I had to do it for right 2? Oh, God. It's gonna take forever. Okay. Idle up. Ah. Tedious. Tedious. But once this is done, I don't have to do it again. Just don't mess this up, Alex. Don't mess this up. Don't mess this up. Ah, why? I messed it up. I gotta turn all these off. Turn off. Turn that off. What? Why? No. Next. There. Next. Good. Next. Good. 4. Good. Alright, now that's the run frame. Alright, we did that one already. Now run left. We need to move it to the appropriate hand. There. Next frame. There. Next frame. There. This is not the right hand, but that's okay. For convenience sake, I want it to always be drawn on front of the player. So for now, I guess this is accurate. So we're going to hit close, hit apply. I know I haven't done all of them yet, but we're going to make sure that I didn't break anything in the... Yes. Yes. Okay. So now what we can do is get the player's direction. And then change the Z order layer. So, like, when I'm facing up, make it so we can see the player's hand by putting the axe behind the player. So, I'm going to see if I can do that pretty easily. Okay. So that's potentially one way. I don't know if I like that way. Let's get rid of this. And let's also change the rotation of the holdable. I don't know. Oh, 0. 0 is for immediate rotation. Yeah. Here we go. So now... Wow! I'm coming at you with a flying spinning axe. Yeah! Chop, chop, chop. It's upside down. Don't worry about my axe being upside down, guys. So what we'll end up doing is actually doing it based on an angle. So if it's between 0 and 180, flip this way. And then if it's beyond that, flip it the other way. So now, we can say, if the holdable is between an angle let me look up angles for a second. I gotta look this up. So let's look at the angles. Angle. Oh. Now I believe that didn't quite work. Why didn't that work? There's a way to judge the angle of this thing's rotation, and I'm just trying to think of it. If the angle is... The angle is... equal to or greater than 0. And is less than 180. It's not flippable. Oh, we're not actually flipping it. We're saying it is flippable. Oh. Shouldn't I be flipping it? What is going on? There's got to be another way to do this. I'm trying to remember. There's got to be a way to do between angles. I remember there being a way to do this. My brains was having a fit. I'm sure it has to do with angle. Hmm. Maybe there's a more... Hmm. My brain is having a problem understanding what to do next. I thought there was a way for me to check between angles. Let me open up the... Gonna watch a little tutorial here. See that I didn't goof. Let's see here. I think I had it right, honestly. Maybe we need to just add a... I could do a 3D flip, but I think it'd look really weird. But I'm not against trying it. So let's go to our holdable tool, add a behavior, 3D flip. Now that we have the 3D flip, we can go to the player manager. We actually need to do it down here. Because we need to manage this on a per player. We just do that here. And then for each instance of player, of course, rotate that, right? And then now we can say if the holdable object if the angle is greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 180, flip, no. Flip the object, flip to a side, no. If it is greater than or equal to 180, but below or equal to 360, yes. But in the actual... Why is that not working? Now it should be all sorts of backwards. Okay, but that worked. No. Maybe I have my degree. Maybe the degrees are not where I think that they are. What? Why? Hmm. Trying to think what the best way to do this is. What are you trying to solve, Riley? Seriously, why isn't that rotation flipping? Okay, so this should flip the freaking thing. Yeah, that's flipped. And that makes sense, because I told it to be flipped. That's the question is how many kilobits does a single color hold? I have no idea. Okay, so we have to decide how many bits of color do you have? Like 8-bit would be allowing for up to 286 different colors. How many colors are you anticipating? That's the first question you have to ask yourself. Cuz bit matters. Okay, so right now, as long as it's under 256 different colors, it's 8-bit, right? So the math, I'm going to stop what I'm doing because I'm just about to wrap up here on stream anyways. So for you, Riley, file size kilobytes are decided, they're equal to the image width. So image width times image height. Height times the color depth. And so this case, the color depth, how many bits per pixel? 8. 8 bits per pixel. So it'd be width times height times color bit or color depth. And then so that would be, let's say your image is 1 by 1, a 1 by 1 pixel, times 8 for the color depth, over 8 times the width of your screen. Or, no, sorry, 8 times 1024. Because that's bits versus bytes. And once you can solve that, then you will get the correct answer. So to show you this for your case, so not, to make it so you don't, I'll solve this for you. Don't worry. So that you don't have to do this math yourself. Let me show you how this works. So now using, in our case, now that I've given you, yeah, divided by 8 times, or over 8 times, the color depth is 4. Give me a second. No, hold on. No, I'm wrong. Give me a second. So if you have a grayscale image that's 256 by 256, was what you're saying, and each pixel can take up a value between 0 and 9, so a total of 10, right? So 10 possible values for each pixel. To represent each pixel, you need enough bits to cover the range of 0 to 9, and in this case, you need 4 bits per pixel. Excuse me. Because you need 4 bits per pixel, since 2 to the 4th power is equal to 16. And is the smallest of 2 that can represent 10 different values. So this aside, what that looks like for you in your case, right? So now we need to calculate kilobytes. So in this case, your KBs are 256 by 256. Oops, that one is supposed to be a 5. Times 4. Well, we only can work with what you got right now. The math doesn't change. The equation. Okay, so the equation for deciding your kilobytes is your screen width, screen height, so times color depth, over kilobytes, which is 8 kilobytes per 1024. That is the math equation. That will never change. So now going backwards, for what you currently have, rather than worrying about what your future might hold, let's worry about what you currently have. In your case, 256 by 256 needs to go over 8 by 1024. And that turns out to 262,144 over 8,192. And if you solve this, it equals 32 kilobytes. The answer to your question is 32. No, it's not bad. So a 256 by 256 grayscale image with 10 possible values per pixel, because each individual pixel has to rotate between the color depth, right? Each one of those is approximately 32 kilobytes. Or the entire screen value. No, per pixel. Per pixel. Because we have to consider what each of them would be. Well, then the equation just becomes... Wait, why are you minusing... You mean times? Because you still have to do length times width. You just change the value of 256 divided by 4. That would become this number. Oh. Well, that becomes 4.5 kilobytes. That drastically decreases its size. Because if we go backwards and we change this math, right? It You want to know the funny part? I already did. No, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. This is where ChatGPT comes into play. Now, you know, you should double check your sources, and I did. I have a couple other things pulled up. But if you want to learn like math equations and how properly to do something, you can totally ask GPT for that. It's not 96 kilobytes. What are you talking about? It's 4.5 kilobytes. If you change the screen down to 192 by 192. No, I went to a couple of the other stuff, the other places, and just checked the math on that, and that is how you calculate it. Well, how you ask ChatGPT, it will change your answer. So you have to ask yourself, did I ask ChatGPT correctly? Most people don't know how to talk to AI appropriately. Riley, how did you ask ChatGPT? Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. Uh, one of the things... Yeah, that's subjective. Because you didn't tell it that it needs to be grayscale. It's assuming that you have a huge color palette. Alright, I've asked it twice. And it's asked me... And it's told me the same answer. And I've pulled up different chats. Copy and paste exactly what you said to it, and I'll post it in mine and see what the difference is. But we got our... I mean, we set out on our task today to create our new UI. We got to fix this goofy item problem. I'm a baton twirler. Get on my level, boys. Oh, that's funny. The old radish icon is still present in the holdable. Uh, yeah, Bo. So my name's Alex, and I've worked in the gaming industry now for a few years. I've worked in publishing. I've worked in community management as well as in publishing, I've had a couple different roles. I've worked in the gaming industry. I've worked with Green Man Gaming. I've worked with uh, N4. Let's see, IGN, N4G. I've worked for In Motion Gaming. I've worked with Games Workshop and Wizards of the Coast. So I have some experience in the gaming industry, but I've never been a programmer. Um, and so that's my experience, anyways. I've been a pixel artist and doing my own pixel work now for the better part of uh, actively the last 7 years, but over the last 10 years probably of my life, I've been doodling and doing pixel art. Um, and no, no, Riley, because it's an array, you want the beginning one to be 0. Because now you're calculating 11 colors and not 10 colors. Yeah, again, when you tell it to be grayscale, you want to start with 0 as black and 9 being white because it's an array. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Anyways, so Bo, what I'm working on is a survival harvesting game, which is called TerraFarmers. And in this game, you start off as a truck driver who crash lands on an alien planet, and all of your seeds and terraforming equipment escape. You're on your way to actually deliver it to a proper place, and it you crash, and your ship lands. Your ship parts land all over the planet, and it's procedurally generated. So if I click my middle mouse button down, you can see that I'm randomly generating my terrain. Um, and right now we have the harvesting working for our system here. I do program in HTML, JavaScript, Python, Lua, and a few other gaming languages, and I've learned those over the years. Um, and I've just been tinkering with like web development and other things. So this is my first time really breaking into the game creation. I've done other projects before, and I've worked on little templates and things that I never finished, mostly in 2D side scroller. So this is my first top-down game that I've ever done. Um, and we're currently almost 2 weeks into development. Every day that I work on it, I live stream. And we're on day 11. So over 11 days, we've been able to create everything you see in front of you. No, Riley, you don't divide it by 8. So I do have the Corgi or Corgan engine and all that other top down. I personally don't like Unity. Um, I would rather use something like Unreal, personally. But I want this to be accessible. I mean, at the same time, okay. So to answer your question directly, I have, as a solo developer, there's only so much I can do, and I could spend my life coding a game raw, um, and doing all of the switches and statements and things I might need. Something like Godot would be more down my alley, more than anything else, because GD script is very similar to Python. Default, I could use Lua, but I'm trying to keep this in HTML5 and JavaScript so it can be not exported to the browser, but actually run in the browser natively. And on mobile devices. And although I could get those licenses and I can export them in other engines, GDevelop was just happened to be in my place. And GDevelop uses a visual coding structure. I have ADHD and dyslexia, and so programming, I get distracted really easily. And I found that even though I still need to know the mathematics of what I'm doing and how finite state machines work and everything else, I find that building coding logic like this is just easier for my brain. And as a solo developer, I don't have time if I'm trying to push a project realistically to code every single line while I'm also doing all the pixel art and everything. It just takes time out of my schedule. I only got so much time. So for me, GDevelop happened to be the engine that I was tinkering with in my last project, and it brought me to here. So that's why. Lazy. I'm lazy. Long story short, I'm lazy. You feel like the UI is chunky? I find it very similar to... I find it very similar to Unity, actually. That's wild. It's just these things are in slightly different places. So, like, instead of having... And you can rearrange this in any way you want. Right? I don't like that I just did that to myself. There we go. Let's see, we can move our instances down here. Yeah, it is clunky, for sure. But being able to, like, export things to your... You know, the instance variables manager is the same thing as the Unity instance tree, the property tree on the right. Things, you know, just like in Godot and other engines like Unity, you can push things to your editor and edit them here. You keep forgetting, Riley, that when you're doing that math, it's all you need to divide under 8 by 1 or 1024, because this is bytes to megabytes, or in this case, whatever is below kilobits to kilobytes, because we're going by 1024. So it's 8 times this, and that's the dividing number. So realistically, you're dividing whatever your number display is by. This number is always the same for how you currently have your thing set up. Is 8,192. So whatever your total is, yeah, then that's 18 kilobytes per save square. So, but that's not right, because you have to follow PEMDAS. Parentheses exponent. So in the order, you need to do 192 by... It should be even smaller than that. Look, if you follow this, 192 times 192 times 4. This isn't right. I'm doing this wrong. Hold on. Hold on. What? You're right. Sorry, my math. I don't know what my math was whack. I must have misclicked something. So 190. You are right. It is 18. 192 by 192 times 4. Following that is this, and that was my fault. Divided by 8,192 is 18. My math was bunk on the last one. That's my bad. Yeah, that was my bad. But you were right. It is 18. Well, so yeah, I don't mind showing that off. My entire game development process has been done on the live streams. So you could copy every line of code if you wanted to. Although I'll let you know that in between games I have definitely changed. Sometimes between streams I'll change the code. So and in between episodes I've done some other stuff. But with that aside, I can show you the extensions that I am using. I'm using 3flip, sway, which I'm not using right now, shake, inventories, although now in GDevelop 5 they have their own built-in inventory, but I'll continue to use this one just because I think it's better. Boyd's movement, noise for Perlin noise. Now these are things that I could do myself if I wanted to, but why would I do that when there's an extension for it? Just like on Unity, when there's a package or an engine that's already been built, why would you rebuild the wheel? Doesn't make sense. So those are the only extensions. Otherwise, I'm running my own external events. And if I need something specific, I can definitely create it myself in the extension editor. But I haven't needed to, because I think that the fundamentals of everything I'm doing is built right here into the game. But yeah, so what I'm working on now is what'll happen is once you crash land here, you'll find out that all of your seeds and everything that you are hauling to the planet you're trying to get to sell to the to deliver. So you work for a company called Dale. They are dispensers of Astral Life Essentials. Dale. The O is of course silent, right? Dale. And so Dale delivers machinery and seeds and things to terraformers or to TerraFarmer companies. And as you're delivering that, you get struck by a meteor or an asteroid in space. You crash land here, and all of your cargo that's normally would be right connected here is scattered everywhere in the game world. And each of those zones, the seeds have grown to life and are now roaming around as mobs. And so I'll show you. I'm working on some mob placements, kind of like Slime Rancher, where you'll have a big version of that mob, and then you'll have little mobs. So right now I've got the radish. This is our old design, and this is our new design for the radish. And then we've also got a carrot. And we'll have plenty of other plants. But these mobs get out. They grow. And if you leave your plants long enough in this game, they'll sprout and start moving around. So it's a cross between like Stardew Valley, Astroneers, and Slime Rancher in a 2D format. And that's the vision for our game. That's the direction we're moving in. Every day we get a little bit closer. I'll be fixing the Y sorting later and doing some other cool things, but we're trying to polish up the features that we added in the first week, which was our inventory. What do you mean? So what you can do is okay. In GDevelop, I am managing my camera and I'm zooming in on my camera So if I change this to the normal zoom of 1, our game would look like this. And so here I can show you, like, randomly generating, right? Our game would look super tiny. Whoa! Those are huge! Okay, and that's... You saw there, actually, that's a great example of how the UI layer, or this layer, it's got a different Z-order depth. And now that our camera is zoomed in, it's technically, like... Yeah. Anyways. And so, for one, our canvas, if you're used to GDevelop, is the 1080 by 720 or 12. I don't even know what it is right now. The 1280 by 720, yeah, 1280 by 720. What you can do though is resize your screen, the camera, to equal the screen size and width. And so right now I don't have it, but when I resize, it'll keep all of the elements the same size. I just currently don't have it enabled because I'm working on different scripts at the moment. But later, the screen resizing will be done like the canvas. It'll be zoomed into 3, but then the size that we see, the screen here, will resize. And I believe I could, honestly, at the moment, just do it here. At the beginning of the scene, change the camera boundaries. I'd have to tinker with it. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but it does. I do have to just set the boundaries of that object so that basically the camera resizes to that inventory stretch and to the actual. Because right now, basically, as you see, as I hide this, it knows the default resolution of my game should be this window. So we need to change the window size, or the camera to fit to the window size, and then as we shrink, all of our UI will stay in so this will always be centered to whatever our window size is, rather than the camera size. But that's how you do that. I just haven't addressed it currently, but I will be doing that in the future. And so here you can see that I've done it by the screen width and the screen height. But we would want to set our camera and everything dynamically to this. But that's just in one little script. It wouldn't take very long. And that's something that I could definitely build a tutorial out of if you're interested in. Because right now, all that my YouTube channel has is my live streams. So currently, if we are missing a tool, it'll let us know. We need to add the text for that. But then when we have our tool, we can beat it up. One of the things that we're going to be doing in our game is, instead of generating our terrain based on a grid square, we're going to be building it now in a radius. Yeah. I'm just reading, sorry, I'm reading chat. Well, you know, and I'll show you. Let me save my project so I don't lose anything here. And I'll pull up one of my side-scrollers that I've done. I've done 2 different side-scrollers. I think Soulfell is probably the easiest one to show you. So here we have my game. I'll move my player up here, and I'll start this. And I'm doing the same thing here. Whoa, that's so loud. My bad. So, this is my other game that I'm working on. This is Tifu. Which is a Metroidvania side-scroller made in GDevelop. Kind of loud, and I'm zooming in here. So when you're making a 2D game, if you want the simplest form, in my last video, I addressed this on livestream. So if you go back to the last video and you can look where I'm designing like grass and tile, I do design a platformer game in like a couple of minutes in the in my last video, and it just kind of talks about how to zoom in your camera and how to make the camera follow your player. So that way you can keep the scaling. You don't have to like bloat or resize anything. You just want to zoom in your camera. Zoom in your camera and have it follow the player. So here, if I open my debug menu, which I've built, you can kind of see that I created an AI character that touches something and turns around and touches it and turns back around, and that's just a patrolling enemy. You can see the state of my attack. So I can do all 3 attacks. You can see my player and everything. And yeah, I definitely don't mind doing some... Oh, and then when you hit the enemy, it stuns them. They currently don't come out of stun. So like if I hit this guy... Cha! See, you can see he turned into... He got stunned, and I haven't unlocked him. So this would be like if I was doing a hit back. I was working on knocking back my enemies, and I hadn't finished it. But that's that. I really enjoyed working on this. Drawing in monochromatic was very difficult for me, but I really like the animations. I enjoy Tfue a lot. I have a whole plan for this game eventually. It's got its own custom music already, and a menu and everything. It's beautiful. I love this. And then also, I'll show you, I didn't draw this one. I bought the sprites and built it on GDevelop, but this is not the right one. Rune Knight. There we go. Yeah, and that was part of one of the things I wanted to do. I'm a big fan of the 2D flip, the paper flip, like Paper Mario. I really like that a lot. You'll see it in quite a bit of the work I do. And so here's another 3D flip. Wow, this one's really loud. Let me turn off the music. There we go. And so here's another one that I've done using GDevelop. And so all these mechanics and stuff, I could definitely teach you how to do, if that's something that you want to learn. And in this video, or in this, let's see. Let me show you. Come here. Ow. So we have interactions that when we collide with them, they, I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. And then this is broken, but when I go through here, it's going to teleport me to... I was working on an elevator. But it's supposed to bring me to the next scene. And so here, actually, what's really interesting is I use a building format where we're only rendering a certain part of the game. And when we... Let me show you this in full scale. Camera zoom. We're going to go back to 1. This is going to mess up my whole game. But it's okay. I'll show you. One of the techniques that I'm doing is generation. Gosh darn it. I want to start on this one. What? What's your deal? Why you do this? Game scene. This is the main game scene. Okay, for one, we're going to move this guy back to where he belongs, which is right there. And then we need to go back to the tutorial scene and change this to 1 as well. Okay, so now that I've sorted that out, now you can see, hopefully, as I get close, as I fall, it generates. Do you see that? So we loaded in an entire another level. So we're able to minimize, in GDevelop, we can pull in from scenes. And so down here, I've got tutorial room 2. And if I go to that, we can now see that this is that spawn point. It spawns this level. So we can design multiple levels and import them. Let me hide the grid because it looks messy. So we can load new rooms in. And so let's say we're building a 2D game and we wanted like a Legend of Zelda style where you go into the rooms. You do this sort of mechanic where effectively in the game scene, in this one, we create a tutorial spawn zone, and when we're within a certain distance of it, like 200 pixels, spawn the next room. And then what we're doing is when we leave 200 pixels, we can then hide everything from this room. And so that way it's not loaded. And so we're not infinitely running a game that's rendering all of this other stuff. We can hide it based on how far we've moved from this point. I don't even know. Get out of here, random piece of terrain. Right? And so now, when we load this room, we can run all of this, and then we can end the room with interaction with doorways. So in this game, when you press up on a doorway, it'll let you go through it, like you would in some of the other games. So we're going to start now. If I start in tutorial room 2, there's no player. You see, because it loaded both worlds on top of each other. Because we have a creation script that begins the game in this particular spot. So going back to this, now we can do this, and then I'm going to get going here, guys, because now we've reached... Yeah, they still exist. And I'll explain that here in a second. So here we go. We're going to run through our game real quick. Ah, get away from me. Don't hurt me. Ah, don't hurt me. Jump over that. Climb up our ladder. Smacky, smacky. Give me some health. Yeah, I got health. Okay. Ugh. This guy's a little broken. There we go. Oh, he almost hit me. Okay. Jump over this guy. Go this way. Jump over him. Now when we go in here... And then we coded it so that way after a couple seconds the doorway crashes and we can't go back through it. And now we could go here and hit this. It's not... Obviously that's not ideal. But then this would allow us to move on in our level and do other things. So you then asked me... what happens with scripts in when they load. So now this is really important. So while using GDevelop, if you program... So let me show you two different ways. Well, no. So each scene, right, has its own script table. So in this scene, we have a player controller. And in this scene... Let me open it up. Our game scene events. We also have a player controller. This sucks. Do not design your game this way. It's garbage because it's running the scripts every single time we go into it. We add the scripts to each scene. We don't want to do that. Instead, the best practice that you can do is finite state machines. And if you can do finite state machines, you can create a player script finite state machine, and when the game launches, so let's say this is our starting scene, right? But we also have a menu now. Or let's say, actually we don't have it in this one. Let me pull up Soulfell. So whether it's a platformer or not, in our title screen, right? Let me minimize all of... These are the events that are in my menu. We have the initialization of the game. We're setting the screen size comparatively. We're creating a fade to black feature. We're configuring all of our game in this scene. And when we transition, so we're going to menu navigation, when we select the appropriate menu, which in this case is if we click on start the game, load the game scene, right? That's all it's doing. The text of the action of menu items is set to start the game scene. So when in our title, let me move this over so you can see the actual title screen. So here's our title screen. When I click start game, it is labeled the action as start, load this game. Now we can go look up our game scene, go back to our game scene, double click it. Every time you create a scene, it has its own event script, and then you can create external layouts, which are blank screens that don't have a text. You can create one for it, but you don't need to. So these are layouts. This screen is called a layout, and then you have the event scripts. And when you create an actual a scene, it creates both. So in our game scene, we can then go to the game scene event scripts, and now we're at the beginning of the scene. We're hiding our debug because this is what the player can see. This is our actual game. For development reasons, we can turn our sword to false now because I have a game state quick loads, and then we create a hero event script. Now in GD script, you can include events from another. When you click on it and right click it, add link external events. So now I have an event sheet that is specifically for the player, and this is how we initialize our player in every script. So this is what we call a finite state machine, where now that we load into our player, we can start setting all of our player controllers, what we can do. So now when, like, for example, in our initialization script, what we can see what that does. In our initialization script, if the sword is locked, don't show the sword on the model. If it is locked, if it's not, show the sword on the model. So let's say that's what happens in our initialization step. We're also setting the initialization step of the player to initialize. And once the scene begins, if this is proper, we should be falling because we put our character above the ground. Once he lands, change his initialization step to idle. And when that happens, we go back to our here and we go check idle. In finite state machines, we can control what happens or what the player can do in each step. So now that we're in the idle script, we have some scripting here that is whether or not we have the sword, because if we do, there's some specific logic we need to do. But now if we press the jump key, whether it's on controller or keyboard, set his jump to 0 because we only want him to jump once. And then can only attack once if we wanted to configure that as well. Do this. Or set it to 0 as in, no, we haven't jumped. 0 is we haven't jumped yet. Then we do transitions. So you have actions and transitions. When you make a finite state machine, let me draw. I'm a visual person, so I like drawing this sort of stuff. So let me go backwards here. If you are in a idle state, you have to define what you can do while in idle and how you leave the idle state. So this is idle. And this is actions. Actions and transitions. This is awful. Okay. Yeah. So if we press a key, do this thing in actions. So if we're idle, can we attack? Now we can do an attack action. Can we jump? We do a jump action. And so when we do an action, we tell it that we're inputting something during that state. And then we need to do the action and then transition into that state. So if we press A on the key, go to the attack state. Now we need to transition into attack. So if A is pressed, transition into our attack. And then now our state has changed from idle, and now we start with attack. And in the attack script, we have to do what we can do in the attack, which is our actions. And then how do we transition out of here? So like, for example, if we're no longer pressing any buttons, change back to the idle script. And you could do this with animations and other things, but the idea here is, as you can see in our idle animation, we have transitions. If we're on the ground and we're running, change to the run animation. Change to the running state. That's all it does. So on the ground, the transition. If we're on the floor and we start moving, move to the run. If we're on the floor and we start jumping, move to the jump animation. And now this, we're setting it via the finite state machine, which is a variable of our player, which I can show you. And let me show you this. This might explain it a little bit more. We can see that my player is idling, as we see here in the state. And then as we move, he transitions to the different states. And these are transitions happening in real time. So if I'm not touching any keys, it just knows. Right? So now we have to reiterate. So now that we have our initialized state, and we'll go back to our idle state. From idle, we can jump. Now we go to our jump. So when we enter the jump state, when that finite state is set to jump, then we can do what actions we do in jump. So we can move while we're jumping. So if I didn't, or if I removed this jump movement, watch this. So in our game, now when I jump, I can't move left or right because I've disabled our ability to move left and right. In finite state machines, we control each state of our character. If I re-enable this, now when I jump, I can move left and right. See? I can now move left and right while I'm jumping. And I'll go back into my debug. We see that I'm running, we see that I'm jumping, and now falling, transitioning to a fall after a couple of seconds. But I can still move. Now again, if I remove this, and we go back into our jump state, you can see I'm jumping, I immediately stop moving. Because the jump state doesn't allow me to move, but the fall state does. So while I'm falling, I can move left and right. So I'll show you that real quick. As I fall, I can turn around. And so, Bo, to answer your question, now going back to our previous example in the game that I don't do this method in, because of how I'm designing this, I would eventually, as a developer, move my player into a finite state machine, because currently we're jamming all of our code script into one giant script. And we copy this logic over for each room, where we would only want to normally do this per player. So like in Tifu's case, we're rendering it per user who's using it. And so if we're doing a multiplayer game, we can do finite state machines and render it per player that's rendered on the screen. No, Bo, this is perfect. This is what this channel's for. Don't feel bad about this. I'm pretty much done with our development today, so I don't mind discussing what other options and things we have. So, today we made good progress, and I'm happy with that. So, and I don't mind helping. But I will do some G-Develop tutorials. So I guess in the comment section, let me know. Yeah, Sith, I'm actually about to get off. I appreciate you coming in. We've done some changes to the game. But yeah, I was just getting off here. So I appreciate everybody coming in. I'll be on again tomorrow at roughly 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be doing some more coding, some more coloring and additions, fixing our axe, so that way it actually maps to our character. We have our oxygen tank, which we worked on, which will start draining when we're no longer in the hazard zone. So what we've changed so far is it lets us know when we don't have the tool, and I'll be changing that to a bit text later so it doesn't look so bad. And when we have a tool in our inventory, it will draw it. And now when we have the right tool, we can break the objects. And now because we don't have the right tool and have the wrong tool out, stones won't even be highlighted. So we're just doing some quality of life updates. We've updated our radish. I haven't fixed it all of the way, but I'll do that next stream. So we have a new radish in, and we'll be working on making trees harvestable, as well as in our last stream, we added, we're working on the interior of the Dale cargo hold. So that way we can go in there and have our storage boxes and our machinery to make new items. But that'll be coming in the next episode, in the next few episodes. Thank you guys so much for stopping in. I really appreciate the time and the hangout. But that's it for now. So I'll catch you guys on the next one. Ciao.